Are we on?
All right. Yep, we're on. Cool.
We're on.
All right, guys.
Hey.
Cheers. Yatta. What do you say? Kiri kiri.
Kari.
Kari kari.
Kari chikire.
Kari chikire. Yeah.
In Okinawa.
That's it. Okinawans, we're back here. Welcome to Real Life Japan, guys. We're back here with my man Travis. My man. He's my man.
Yes, I am. Yeah.
So, man, I just want to say thanks a lot for the Okinawan day. That was fucking super special and really, really fun. And
Yeah, that was unexpectedly a real fun time. And I wasn't
unexpectedly.
thinking much about
Why
that.
unexpectedly?
Just,
you knew it was going to be
I'm
fun.
so reclusive right now
Yeah.
that I don't really go out. And then there's just one day that I found like, oh, here's a chance for me to go to Taisho.
Sure.
Because I always wanted to go there.
Right.
And then trying to be like available. So I was like, okay, let's try this out. And then
I wasn't just
the
available.
video.
I was psyched. I was like super
Yeah.
excited for it. Yeah.
Yeah, it was great. It was really,
man.
really great.
Cool experience for
Uh-huh.
sure. Yeah, it gave me the want and really just the yearning to go to Okinawa. Like, I want to see it for real and experience it. I mean, you know, because it's your life.
It's
and you
my
grew up there.
life.
Yeah.
Yes,
It was nice to have a little slice of it in Osaka too. It was fucking super cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, cheers. So we're drinking a rich malt. This is hoponshu. What is hoponshu, Travis, for people that don't know?
Happo. The hot sound like represents.
Would you consider this beer?
explosion.
I mean, it tastes like beer.
It's at the state of mind.
Kind of.
No.
It's not quite beer, but
It was nice because it's like super cheap.
it's so
And I
cheap,
kind of
right?
got into it for a while because when they were new, they were popping up, and it was like, it was like, I can't believe it's not butter kind of thing.
Yeah, totally.
And
I didn't know it wasn't beer. Chihiro's mother had to tell me. She was like, "You realize you're not
Yeah.
drinking beer?" I'm like, "What do you mean?" She's like, "It's not." So for people that don't understand, what is hoponshu exactly?
hopposhu is like synthetic beer. It's actually
Synthetic.
It's the cheaper version of not cheaper. It's like
It's made from rice grain, correct?
deconstructed and reconstructed beer.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
what it is, right?
But what is the alcohol in it? Is it made from like shochu or is it from rice grain? I mean, basically they make somehow beer tastes like beer, but they're not using barley and hops
liqueur.
and malt, right? Oh, liquor, okay.
Yeah, that's what it is.
So it's kind of like a carbonated flavored beer thing.
It is, yeah.
But it is so cheap. I mean, for you folks who like beer, it tastes better than near beer. It tastes better than 0% alcohol beer, that's for sure.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Definitely.
Those
It has
things are just horrible. Like they don't should be.
It's pretty low. It's 5%.
They shouldn't exist
Actually,
in this world.
the alcohol percentage is higher than regular beer. It's 5%. So anyway, that's what we're drinking on. Today's topic is teaching English in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
So Travis has how many years experience now? And since we've met, like 8, 9?
Yeah, like 8, 9 years now.
What did you do in Okinawa? What was your job?
So before I came to Osaka, I was actually working as, what was at the time right there?
You were a DJ at a strip club,
I was
right?
a DJ at a strip club once, right there. Yeah, and
That's
right
fucking
there.
cool.
just to clarify the whole thing like that, we just finally pointed out that I have a tendency to say right there at that moment, and right there every now and then. So
That's okay.
I want to clarify. It's just kind of liberating to go ahead and finally understand.
It's like if you're if you're a Canadian and you say
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
cool,
I
man.
do
No
that,
worries.
but-
You can say that anytime.
What were we talking about already? I'm off to the rails already.
What you did in Okinawa.
Oh, I didn't know. Okay,
Yeah.
so I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I worked as a translator
okay.
and interpreter for a archaeological research
That's
firm.
right. You worked as a salaryman.
Uh-huh.
Damn. What was that like?
That was actually interesting.
I bet.
I got to know you. Once you're born in Okinawa, you kind of have this idea, thinking that you pretty much know everything about it, and then because of my looks, because of how I kind of stood out from the whole crowd.
Being a half.
Yeah,
I don't like that term. Sorry. You're a hybrid.
We don't matter, man. Like,
Yeah.
like people are just like talking about like what should we call them like that. We don't really matter.
Hybrids.
No. but yeah, growing up in Japan right there, it's like I thought I didn't know a lot about Okinawa. So you know how when you were lacking something, you kind of work for it.
Sure.
So my shtick or my gimmick, whatever you want to say, was to know more about Okinawans than Okinawans. And then, like, I lived that ways, and next thing you know, I'm working in a research firm about Okinawa archaeology, and I'm like, holy crap, I didn't know anything about this place. You know, it kind of like rekindled my inner Okinawan.
So working as a translator, what were your tasks? Like you did emails, you had to translate text,
pretty much everything.
Text you had to okay.
But mostly.
And what was the interaction with foreigners? How did you have to contact other people, and what was the reasoning for the translation? I mean, if you work in Japan, you speak Japanese.
Yeah, right. Like the good thing to point out, it's like because we were doing research on military grounds.
Okay.
There had to be done in according to like American law. There's like this what do you call that? National Park Service. They are actually like a huge, gigantic.
A lot of the research is funded by universities in America, right?
Yeah.
Like that guy we met at the Okinawan Festival. He was from Stanford, or his research funding was from Stanford University, which is an Ivy League school, very high level.
So some kind of law in the States protects. It's a really funky situation where like the state's law is actually protecting the Okinawan lands because there's a lot of cultural deposits around the island right there.
Right.
But because of the war, Okinawa really had to kind of like rush up and then catch up with mainlanders right there, economically. Then
sure, I mean the whole country was sent into
it's kind of gotten forgotten right there, right?
Right.
And I really love that culture, and it's in the military base because they just like put dirt on everything right after that.
Just buried it.
Yeah. And then they build their own base on there. So everything that used to be in those grounds is completely intact. The rest of the whole island is just like a mess. You can't figure out what about this place.
Right. Well, post-war in Japan entirety was in complete shambles.
Yeah. But like so, Okinawans had to like catch up like that stuff. Like so, there's no really regards about cultural resources that much. Nobody's interested in it all. But it's just like this wild place.
So those work experiences you had in Okinawa, did any of them translate to Osaka for you to be able to
translate?
Well, not translate, but it's not a good word.
No, I understand.
Transfer like what skills did you have or experiences from Okinawa helped you with your English career teaching here in Osaka or in Nara where we are now?
What helped me out?
What kind of skills? Communication skills, obviously. Like it was easy for you to communicate.
Communication skills, right there, definitely.
Did you have to brush up on your English? Like, did you have to study grammar?
I'm still trying to do that right now.
Yeah,
I'm still. It's like.
I mean, Japanese is your first language, even though you're proficient in English. It's like you're naturally speaking Japanese, so
all the time.
Yeah.
Too much sometimes.
Well,
yeah, but how did I catch up? Was it like that? It was just curiosity.
So your first job was at Grove.
Yeah.
Grove. The first English experience. We worked together. That's when I met you.
Yeah.
8.5 years ago. Yeah.
Damn.
I know.
Time flies.
That was a connection through family, which was kind of cool. Chihiro's friend's mother, Tomomi, her friend from high school, really tight friend. Her mother owns this school. Very, very small school, but cool. I mean, it definitely had an interesting vibe to it for sure.
Bittersweet memories.
Yeah. Distant memories. First teaching experiences. Yeah, for me, I started as an ALT, and it was funny when I arrived. I had no idea. I did some research about teaching in Japan, but nobody talked about lessons or what to expect as far as contract and money and transportation is paid for. Like I was so in the dark, and the first interview I had wasn't an interview. I showed up in Oji. It was in Nara, and it was for a company. It was a dispatch company, and when I first showed up, the woman just said, "Where do you live?" What she said, closest station, no, Eki, no, what's the closest station? I told her, and she's doing the math in her head, like how much it's going to cost for me to get dispatched to. It was in Izumi City, which is kind of a far train ride. I took the Hanwha line from Nagai, and the Hanwha line, and I had to transfer at Otori to one stop, and so it was kind of a long haul. But she didn't ask me about my experiences teaching prior to that. She's just like, "You're a native English speaker." I'm like, "Yeah." She's like,
"Yeah, no.
Welcome to the job." It was scary. I was like, "Wait a second, are you gonna ask me a few questions?" But even her English wasn't at a very proficient level.
Right.
So then I got dispatched to this school, Kita Shinara High School in Izumi City, and from there it was just this it was like an out-of-body experience where I saw myself outside of myself, watching myself be the most confused human being on the planet Earth. It was like, the teachers were like, make an introduction lesson. And I'm over there like, oh, I'm from Boston, blah, 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 blah. I love shumi, hobby, tennis, and blah. And then like I showed it to the teacher and he's just like, Muzakashi. You know, like, I was like, what does that mean? He's like,
you want me to go lower?
Yeah, he's like, difficult. Right?
Is it hard?
Yeah.
That's too hard.
I made it was literally like 4 pictures. Like, this is my daughter.
Yeah.
Boom. This is the baseball team I like in Boston, the Red Sox. Boom. And then like another picture. This is my dog Lucy. And then I showed it to the whole class, and they're like, eh? You know, like they didn't the most basic English that you could ever imagine.
Yeah.
And then I'm standing up there like sweating and nervous in front of 35 high school eyes just staring at me. And I had an assistant teacher who was looking at me like you're a magician, like pull a bag of tricks out of your hat.
Do something.
Yeah, do something. And then some kids started falling asleep, you know.
Yeah, come on, make your magic like that. You're the wizard here.
I was like, oh no. I was like, teaching English in Japan is going to be a fucking nightmare.
No, it is sometimes.
Well, that was my first job. That was my first job, and I was frightened. I went home on the train. I think I cried that day. I honestly did. I cried. Yeah.
No,
I was
what
like,
have I got
for
myself
the piddles,
into?
yeah. Like I was like, now I understand why there was no interview. It was just like, native speaker. You're a tape recorder. Let's go. You know. Yeah. So that's basically what I was. You know. They'd be like, we'd be studying about weather, and the teacher would be like, Mike-san, ame, and I'd be like, rainy, and he'd be like, kumori, cloudy. He's like, tenki, and I'm like, weather, and then the kids would be like, se no, and they'd be like, weather, and I'm like, no, not za. Weather. I'm like, use your teeth and your tongue. Like, make that.
They don't get that concept.
Weather. They could say weather. I'm like, no, weather. Weather.
It makes me feel like a foreigner the moment I see them trying to pronounce the TH sound.
Yeah, but over time, I mean, now I absolutely love my job. I mean, I teach adults and kids. I have an insight to Japan that I feel like is very interesting, because a lot of the adult students I have are all privates, and we do Ikaiwa is this conversation school. There's a topic, okay, marriage, okay, sports, okay, weather, okay, like very specific things that we talk about, to like housewives, like what's the thing that your husband does that pisses you off the most? It's like things like that. So I get this inside scoop, and it's very genuine.
Universal too. Right?
It is, exactly. It's very genuine, like super genuine. They're just being honest with me. And I get to correct their English. Like, I write the incorrect sentences on the board, and we all, together we work it out, like grammatical spellings or grammatical errors or spellings or sentence structures or misusing out of context, words out of context. So, kind of just break down their spoken language. Yeah. And it's so fun. And then with the kids, it's just games and, seeing their eyes light up and learning new words. And I mean, now it's a magical experience, but in the beginning it was fucking hell. Like it was absolutely nightmare,
So you finally catch that groove right there. You kind of like, there is definitely some kind of a sentiment to it.
Well, I think you and I kind of missed the boat too. Like I hear it from teachers. Like we have friends that we talk about teaching in the 90s or in the 80s, like during the
I heard that was like
you'd be like $50 an hour, and it's like. I mean, tell
were making bank.
What is the average teachers make in Japan now?
I would
per hour.
Say what 2,000?
Yeah, exactly. 2,000 to 3,000. I mean, I get paid a little higher because of my experience teaching also in the States, but it's about 2,000 yen, which is about $15 an hour in dollars. So it's not that much. It's piddles, but
that's like. Bottom line right there.
I mean, it's not minimum wage, but to raise a family on that much money, it's fucking tough.
The lowest money how much do we call it? I don't know what
minimum wage
like that. Minimum wage, that's what it is. Yeah, but the minimum wage over here, they finally hit like a 1,000 yen mark.
Right.
Not too long ago.
Right, but that's $8.
Yeah.
Yeah. In America, they were trying to get like up to $15. That's one thing about the States.
They do.
I think they do, yeah.
Right?
Depends on the tax brackets, yeah. But
15%. I'm like, God, how do you live? But over here, like,
you have to love it. And the thing about Japan, like one thing you have to understand is you're not an actual teacher. You're an instructor. You're instructing a language that you know, that you natively speak. But a teacher it's a different profession. Like you have to have a teaching certificate in America to teach.
Yeah.
You know, or probably a master's degree now. In Japan,
we wouldn't be working in the States.
You can be just some asshole that speaks English, and you know, you could be a scientist or a lawyer. It doesn't really matter. You could be a fucking bartender, like I was. It doesn't matter as long as you can speak the native language correctly and teach basic grammar. It's not that complicated, but it doesn't pay well either. But you are an instructor. You're not an actor. You don't have a certificate.
You're definitely in a unique position right there.
Yeah,
You're
for sure.
Caught between two kind of cultures, and then, neither one.
Yeah.
It's really interesting, actually.
Yeah, I remember the first time I met, like literally the first month I was in Japan, I met a guy who is American. He's from Atlanta, and he had been living in Japan. He still is, I think, for about 12 years. And I asked him, like, you know, what do you do? I'm an English teacher. And I was like, oh, wow, you've been here 12 years. Your Japanese must be incredible. He's like, no, it's shit. And I was like, what? Like, you're immersed in this culture for 12 years and you haven't learned the language? And I was thinking to myself, like, this guy's a fucking dumbass. You know, like, this guy has no brain. Here I am, 8.5 years in. I don't speak very, very little. But I can understand. Like, my comprehension is good, okay. But as far as, like, speaking, having full conversations, it's not there yet. And there's a reason for it. At first, I thought this guy was just a dumbass. And, like, you get caught in a trap as an English teacher of working a lot. You know, some of them, when I worked at this one in Kiowa, I was like 10 o'clock in the morning until 11 o'clock at night. And the whole time I was instructed to never speak Japanese. You know, like, you're here to speak English. That's your job. Don't even try. And so you're discouraged. You're discouraged to learn a language where you're immersed, where you actually live, and it's not good. And then my wife is Japanese, and she was my crutch. So every time I had to go get a new phone, a contract, or a bank account or something, she would be right there for me, always speaking for me. So I wasn't interacting outside of my job. Yeah. You know what I mean? So there was no natural... And then until Yamakawa-san, I had no Japanese friends besides you. But you and I only speak in English. Yeah. You know what I mean? So...
You're going to put it on me now?
Yeah, you fucking asshole. Why you speak Japanese, you dickhole? Oh, shit. Get on it. Yeah, but my wife doesn't speak, to me in Japanese or teach me either. So
no, you definitely kind of hit the
you hit a wall.
Yeah, you hit a wall when that happens right there.
I mean, I'm fucking lazy too. I could like take it upon myself to. I have books, I have apps, I have all that shit. It's not. It's like it just sort of happens that way. It's like
at the end of the day, I this is what gives me some sort of respect towards my students. And at the end of the day, like, imagine this, like they're in a country where everybody is almost the same. Everybody shares the common sentiment. All the like everything is just like boom.
It's a conformed society.
It's conformed totally. Right there. So everybody knows things.
100%.
And then
100%.
These people that we teach right there actually, like what? Oh, okay. All right. So, but these students. They are actually working really hard every day to try to get a new language.
I mean, there's trillions of yen that's poured into the education system to teach English, but people aren't learning. They're not. For some weird reason. Yeah. Why do you think that is?
Why? I think there's just like multiple facets to the whole thing right there.
I think for me, it was when I was teaching as an ALT, the Japanese English teacher, the JLT, would teach English and speak Japanese for 40 minutes. And I'm standing there, I'm a native English speaker, and I'm standing there, and I can speak, but the comprehension level is so low that grammar has to be explained in Japanese. Like noun, meishi, keiyoshi, adjective, like all the structures of words, everything is explained in Japanese.
There wasn't like a
that's a flaw.
There's no like what do you call it? An audio kind of like sense of getting to familiarize with English in the Japanese education system at all. It's just boom, ABCs. And even if the ABCs, like, I have this weird background from kind of going to a U.S. school, so I kind of understand a little bit, but mostly...
On base in Okinawa?
Off base. Back in the States.
So it was an international school?
It was the school that I came to when I was like in first grade was an international school. Okay. But that's another story. But anyways, like that. Like, oh, shit, I lost myself. Where was I going to go? Where was this now? Like that.
You were talking about back to the ABCs, the basics of actually teaching the fundamentals of English.
Yeah, so I'm deeply immersed into that Japanese culture and having that Japanese experience as a foreigner. I'm like that. I think I extend to a point where a lot of people don't really understand about Japan when they first arrive here. You can study about the place, but this place is so mysterious and so strange with many things. And then a lot of stuff is supposed to be conformed. It's very comfortable if you know the codes. It's very comfortable if you just keep quiet over here. So it's a really strange place, but then you get very deprived of like human connection. I'm kind of going off this.
That's okay, no worries.
Right. But shit.
So I think moving from Okinawa to Osaka for you was a lot like moving from one country to another.
It was.
But you still speak the language.
Yeah.
So that's your advantage. Yeah, for me it was like moving from Boston to fucking Mars. my brother always said he's like you might as well have moved to Mars. I'm like, yeah, it's really like that. It's so fucking far away. Purging everything was interesting for me. It was like I guess when you decide like you're gonna start your second life and you just get rid of everything down to 2 suitcases, that's when it really hits home. Like that's when it's a real thing, you know.
You're condensed.
Yeah, you are. And you get in a time machine and you end up on a different planet. And it's pretty cool. But I think it's for a lot of people, but not. I mean, for a lot of teachers that I talk to here teaching English, their ultimate goal is to have a job where they don't have to teach English anymore. But for a lot of us too, it's actually something we love to do. So if you have a mindset where you're not like, oh, I hate teaching, what happens is over years you have so many negative experiences teaching English that you realize there are no good teaching experiences until you make it. Either you start your own school, like Eddie's done, or you Martin too. But you start your own thing and you create your dream here in Japan and you just stay with it. Like for me, it's videos now, and it's like you just live that dream and you can work your way out of. But I think having the option of doing private lessons part-time or to feed your kids or even just to learn about the culture, like I said, with me and adult students, here I am interviewing them about how they feel about their favorite Japanese food, or they teach me about local Nara restaurants. Like, what's the best ramen place around here? Like, oh, check out Shio Gensui. That's the best Shio ramen. So for me, it's like I live through my job. I have this experience like very, very personally through people that I interconnect with, and I get paid for it. And that's how I see it. And that's a pretty magical thing. And if you look at your job that way, as it's not a job, arduous thing, you have to get on the train, it's hot. I get on my bicycle and I bike when it's 100 degrees to that place, to that location. So going to work is an actual event. I get there, I change my shirt, get into work mode, sit down, okay, let's talk. And a lot of these women are like ikigai, they're really, really into like their hobbies. So they travel, they go places, they go to festivals.
They know.
Kumamoto, they go to this laser show festival at the castle. Like, they know their shit, and they are happy to tell me about it.
And like a little bit of a strange thing is that like from my generation, I don't know, something happened, but people that are like a little bit older, they kind of travel in a different ways.
Yeah, they have money.
Knowledge too.
Money,
it's
of course.
Just interesting to talk to them because
a lot of them, their
plus
husbands are still like CEOs of big companies. And
some of them, but I'm talking about like these that like had
they're educated, they're
retired. Their husbands have retired, and now they're like just enjoying their free time.
Yeah, totally.
Those are the ones that are always that kind of influence me. They always kind of share some knowledge about Japan that you always never knew.
Always learn from your elders.
Yeah, and it's so fun to
tell me about it. All the people that live in this neighborhood are ancient. They're so old. I mean, very few children for the kids to play with, unfortunately. But, I mean, the Oba-chan here, she's like in her 80s. She looks like she's 50. The woman who helps us plant potatoes, we plant some in her hatake and our hatake too. And she's always like cackling and laughing and smiling, and she's so fucking ganky, dude, like always happy. And it's just like, and you know why? Because she plants vegetables and she works in the garden every day.
Possibly,
No, definitely, man.
Like,
it's like in Okinawa, they live so long because the fishermen work until they die.
No, but still, it's just more to that, right? It's like how you carry yourself, It's just how you kind of deal with stuff. Over here, like older people seem to kind of just not care in an what do you call it, apathetic way, but they're just like, oh yeah, okay, you'll live, you'll survive, and they leave you alone.
Yeah,
and I'm like so.
Yeah. I love some of the expressions, like if there's something you can't change and something that you just have to brush off, you say shogunai. You say like, fuck it, you can't change it. It's having that attitude is very important, I think, in Japan, because
I have this,
if you live under their philosophies, you start to feel that like it's not a bad way to live,
I have this like funny thing where like I like to collect the words from different languages, and so far, like I like the word nankurunaisa in Okinawa. Nankurunaisa means like it's gonna work out. Yeah. Something's gonna happen and you're gonna work it.
Don't stress it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think Japan is shogunai. Yeah. Okay, so shogunai. And Thai is maipenlai. Okay. I don't know why, but right, I just wanted to like. Cool. And I'm a like language collector like that. So.
Well, you've been to Thailand. So.
I've been to Thailand too, but really that's cool what it is like that. They have more of a non like battling kind of sense that they're just very welcoming, very knowledgeable about a lot of stuff. This like the one generation before us, like which is like I'm talking about like maybe 50, 60 years old, 70, actually 70. I love the 70s. Like
so if you couldn't, so you're an artist, you sketch, incredible. I mean, just really cool illustrations.
Trying to make it better.
Yeah, no, don't be modest. But that's another thing in Japanese culture. If you overpraise the people, they get really uncomfortable. If you always say like, "Oh my God, that's amazing," and they're like, "Dude, shut up."
Definitely.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Japanese people are so modest. Like even the people that we know that are foreigners that live here have become the same way. Like our friend who's a musician, I always say to him like, "Dude, that song, we saw you live, man. That was really good." He's like, "Nah, shut up." He's like, "That's cocksuckery." So
yeah, you definitely feel uncomfortable living or being praised.
Yeah, because it becomes ungenuine. It becomes it sounds phony.
Yeah.
And Americans are so bad at that. Like, oh my God, you're so awesome. Like, look at you. You're fucking beautiful, girl. Like, you're fucking so amazing. Like it's like, shut up. You said it once. I get it. I'm amazing. Great. But the Japanese people are so modest like that. I like that actually. I respect
you give
them
any kind of compliment, it's like it's a rare gem that you give them. And then they just like and then they like praise them to it like
but they don't show strong emotions, and that's the thing. Like Americans are so up and down with their emotions. Like, oh my God, Chinese people are like, yo, just keep it even, man. Like keep it even and keel, and that's cool.
It keeps them simple. So I mean, not in like kind of like derogatory way, but it keeps them simple in a sense as like okay. They don't hold grudges that much.
Well, it's just like, don't waste your breath.
Yeah.
It's like, don't waste your breath. You said it's great. Good. So be quiet. So anyway, if you couldn't or didn't or weren't able to teach English here in Osaka, what would be your dream job? What would something
if I wasn't teaching English?
Yeah, I mean, I was getting into the artist side of you, and your kids draw, and they're really artistic. So, like, would you want to be? Obviously, you would want to be a professional artist and get paid for it. But what other kinds of professions interest you here in Japan? Like, would you want to be a salaryman again?
If I would like to, I'm going to want a boat.
Yeah. What's
those tuna boats right there?
That's dangerous, bro.
I know. That's one thing I wish. If I didn't have kids, I'll be on one of those.
You want to be like on the crab fisherman, deadly catch.
I mean, imagine like that. You're on the ocean.
But you get a shitload of money.
You get shitloads of money.
Come home and booze.
You come back,
get some hookers.
You can stay piss ass drunk for 2 or 3 months and like that, and then like you can go on the boat back up again, and come back like freaking like Sylvester Stallone in First Blood or something like that. It's like, okay. I mean, what would it's so adventurous, right? You're such a pirate. I mean, that's I think that's the ultimate, right? Freedom.
It's a little dangerous.
But I guess that's coming from my strive for freedom right there. That's my teenager still talking inside of me.
So in the Okinawan video, we met a woman Dana Rosa. She calls herself. It's obviously not
Dana Rosa.
Dana Rosa. What is she, like Italian, Japanese or something? Like what the fuck is that?
She's Japanian.
Yeah.
Japanian.
She was so sweet, and she invited Travis and I to be in sort of a lecture class.
Part of it.
She said 30 minutes. It ended up being 40 minutes, but it was 2,000 yen.
It's 30 minutes.
She still hasn't paid me. I'm still waiting for the...
She's going to pay.
I know. I'm just joking. It's the weekend. So we both had this same experience. I feel like it was probably night and day. Two different experiences. So Travis is going to tell you first. So the deal was 8 o'clock on a Tuesday night. We set 2 dates. One, Travis's was first Tuesday of October. Mm-hmm. Mine was recently. It was November 7th. And same time, 8 o'clock. It was to a group. I think the director of the program was a retired professor at this school. Do you know the name of the university? I forgot.
I forgot.
It wasn't Temple. I forget. But anyway, doesn't matter. So we had to do a presentation for 15, 20 minutes. And then we had 20 minutes worth of questions that we would fail and answer. So it wasn't, a English lesson per se. It was more of an English introduction / culture lesson.
Cultural orientation.
Yeah, cultural orientation. Yeah. So that's the deal. 2,000 yen. I'm gonna let Travis tell you about his experience. Hopefully not too much detail, but I'll tell you mine. Hopefully not too much detail either. But
I didn't have much stuff like that.
Well, that's the thing. So tell it. Yeah. So you were ill prepared. You didn't have any photos shopped, or you didn't.
No, I just thought it was going to be one of those like let's turn the mic on and then start talk kind of gigs, right? So,
but what's the thing called when you do your introduction to the class? Your introduction in Japanese.
Jiko shokai.
Yeah.
Jiko means like your jiko.
Like bio.
Yourself.
Right, self-introduction.
And shokai is introduction.
Right. So I've done that probably 50 times now.
Right, exactly.
So I was totally prepared.
You kind of think that like, oh yeah, this is like this piece of cake, right? You're gonna you don't think of anything. But the moment
all right, so tell us what happened. 8 o'clock comes on. You turn your Zoom on.
Yeah.
What did you see? What happened?
First thing like that, the usual thing. I can't hear you.
Yeah. The audio was awful.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I can't hear you. No, but like I literally couldn't hear anything like that. So it's
they didn't have their speaker turned on.
It's yeah.
That's awesome.
Oh, like I'm waiting, like awkwardly, kind of waving my hand to these strangers.
Right.
Yeah. I don't even know because, like you said, we didn't see their face. I think I had like a.
I could see the entire classroom, but and then Masaki-san originally, like he stuck his face in front of the camera.
Yeah.
And I could hear him.
Yeah.
And the microphone was right there, but he stepped back, and all I heard was.
Yeah.
I was like, dude, not good audio. Audio night.
I'm sorry, I don't speak alien.
Yeah, right. It was so weird.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, so I had my headphones on. I was so prepared, but it was like, okay, so audio's bad. How did you start off? You didn't have an introduction. You didn't have a slide.
No, they just kind of like talked to like she asked me not to speak any Japanese like that, so I was like, okay, I agree with that.
Fair enough. Yeah.
So I to go and try to give myself an introduction. I gave a quite one, and it says after the introduction, she asked me, okay, so what is your presentation for today? Right. And that's when I blanked. I was like, what? What? Am I supposed to have one? And then yes, like I forgot where that. Okay, give me 1 minute. So I'm thinking I couldn't think of anything else in my mind besides one blog that I wrote like ages ago about how our ears adapt to sounds that we are focusing on. And you just have a hands-on experience.
You lost all of them right there.
Yeah. It was something technical.
Right there.
And then I was right there. Yeah. It was something technical and they were just like...
Yeah, no, I dumbed it down so hard. I was speaking the simplest English, but I could see blank stares. Like they didn't understand a fucking word, dude.
Nothing.
Nothing.
And I was just thinking, shoot me right now. I'd rather be like talking to the wall or something.
Yeah.
Instead of some people that just do not. I mean, the glare. I can feel the looks from the screen. Right.
So when you didn't have a slideshow to show them, did you have like your iPhone to show a picture of your kids or anything? Like what kind of imagery did you give them? Nothing. Well, just like your face.
Being a teacher is like kind of like.
English instructor.
You gotta be an improviser too, right?
Sure, of course.
So with that, But
did you like put your phone up to the screen?
No,
like,
no. It was like kind of improvising, talking, and then Googling at the same time.
Okay.
In a different dual monitor system right there. So
did you share screen? Did you become the host on Zoom?
No, they were just looking at my face the whole time.
They didn't know how to do that at first. I'm like, dude, share screen. I need to host. I need to be the host. He's like, eh? I'm like, host though, me. And he's
off
like,
screen, I was like Googling what best topics to talk to English speaking people or something right there.
You were preparing as it was happening.
Okay, let me talk to you about my presentation. I was like right there, going back and forth. But eventually, I came up with the idea of like speaking about the blog, but it just turned out to be too technical for them. And I started to break it down, which led to a different conversation. And I think after like the
so you chewed through the first half, 20 minutes. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
so
then I realized like, something clicked right there, and I was back into like the whole comfort zone again, and I was able to talk about any kind of topic. Yeah.
Okay. So after 20 minutes, they come to you with questions, right? Okay. Do you remember any of the questions? Were they prepared?
No, dude. And like,
right?
It's the most generic questions you could ever imagine. Where like that's therefore non-registrable. Yeah. No, it was like, do you think apples are red? Yeah. And that equivalent.
And the audio was really bad.
Yeah, it was bad. Like it's like, you're like the.
Yeah.
And you're like, what?
But 40 minutes go by pretty quickly too, so it's kind of like whatever, $20 in your pocket, whatever. But my experience was interesting. It was a little different.
It's right yours right there.
So having the real life Japan videos. The introduction video was the first thing I showed them, and so they had they had this sort of like half rectangle desk setup, and I could see like the camera was facing outward from the screen where I was projected behind the camera, so I could see all their faces like very clearly. I don't know, they didn't have a position well for you, I don't think. So I was kind of like, I want to see their reaction on their faces. Like I knew that, so I was so fucking prepared. Yeah. Like I had Chihiro's like professional photographs of my kids in Boston, and all like this whole slideshow projections was like really beautifully like time stamped. My daughter from when she was born up until now, and my son, and like. Like I had this thing.
Talking about overkill, right?
Oh, big time. I was so professionally prepared for this. It was like I was waiting for it, like a kid on Christmas Eve, And so I was on Zoom. The Zoom comes up. I see Masaki-san. He's talking to me. I tell him the audio shit. I'm like, dude, I can't hear anything. But he's like, it doesn't matter. I'm like, all right, you guys, whatever. Yeah. Okay, make me the host. Hosto. Mike Sensei. Hosto. He had no idea how to switch it over. I was like, dude, I cannot show you my presentation without you, clicking on host. I need to control this Zoom meeting. And he was like, okay. And he Googled how to switch it out. You had to like Google it. So I'm sitting there like, that's
Googling it.
Yeah. So he got it finally. And the first thing I showed was I went to YouTube and I pulled up the Real Life Japan introduction video, the biking and ZZ Top, So they shut the lights off like they were going to watch a movie. Like they were so excited. So then my projection behind the screen, the camera was showing their faces were just glowing. All the Japanese glasses were like reflecting the light. And they're all just staring at the screen. And then the movie starts and you could see like they were all like really interested. They're watching intently. They pulled out their cameras. They started like recording. And
no way.
Yeah. And Masaki-san was like, Mike Sensei, like audio 9, like no sound. And so I had to go and like, I had to type in Chihiro's password on the MacBook to get the sound up. So I reset the video. I turned the sound on. I set the volume, and then all of a sudden I could like hear and see their face. It was like, their faces were just like, what the fuck am I watching right now? Sugoi. And so the whole video runs, it's only a couple minutes or whatever, and then it shows a little bit of Boston and my kids, right? And then I show them all the slideshows. I show them all the pictures, and I give a really good breakdown about like how old the kids were at this time. Our dog Lucy and our cat Neko-chan, how we adopted him, and I like laid out the last 9 years of my life basically, and all like documented photos and everything. Like, I mean, it's unprofessional, but it's as an amateur.
No,
like,
it's good.
It was
good. I was blown away.
It was a virtual mic drop.
Mic drop.
Yeah. So this all finishes, and then like jaws were just dropped, and then there was silence, for a good 20 seconds. I'm like, okay, guys, my presentation's over. And they're like, I'll field as many questions as you would like. I'm really excited to hear all your questions. Yeah. And they were frozen like statues. Statues. They were just staring at the screen still. And I'm like, hello. And then, so Dana Rosa, that woman, came up to so they set the speaker in front of the screen. So like they're talking at me, but I could also see them. There's a camera on them. Yeah. And she was the first one. And she's like, hello, Michael-san. Nice to meet you again. And I was like, yeah, nice to see you again too, Dana Rosa. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Oh, thank you so much. Your presentation was very impressive. I was like, thank you. I worked really hard just for this 40 minutes. Not knowing that I'd already made these videos months ago or 2 months ago or whatever. So they thought that I made this for them.
Just like mind-blowing.
But yeah, it just fucking blew their brains out. But so she said, I want to ask you a few questions, and she asked some pretty generic questions. Why did you move to Japan? Mm-hmm. I explained well, I thought it'd be a nice opportunity for my daughter to be raised here, and then my son was born here, and blah blah blah. Yeah. Like I always say, it's about them, but in reality, I think it's more about me. Like I'm pretty selfish in some ways. I think so. I mean, of course, that was the first reason, but at 40 years old, I wanted to start a new existence, like a new life. I wanted to be a completely different person. I knew Japan would give me that.
It is the best place to do that. Though.
For sure. So reset myself. But anyway, in the lesson, so Dana Rosa asked me a few generic questions, and she was very prepared. She had them written down on notes. Yes. And she's such a sweet woman, right? Mm-hmm. So the second guy gets up, this guy, and I could tell his English level was so low. He didn't really understand anything really that I said, my spoken word. Mm-hmm. And he got up to the microphone and he just started kind of like shaking. I was like, Daijoubu, like everything's okay. And he said,
I'm about to talk to him.
He said, what's your age? It's like, great question. I was like, Gosai. I said, I'm 50. And the director was like, Mike-san, please don't use Japanese. And I'm like, sorry, it's a habit. So again, I was instructed not to speak Japanese, but I'm like, the guy doesn't understand.
But they don't understand.
Yeah, exactly.
What are you gonna do now?
It's like, what the fuck?
You're killing me right now. Put me in a vacuum.
So then there was probably a 2 or 3 minute pause. They were all I was like, they must be writing questions down. They must be preparing to come up to the mic and drop it.
Sure, they thought of something.
Whether they had it prepared or not, they didn't. And then so the last woman to come up, she came up to the microphone and she said, Mike-san, hi, are you happy? Instantly in my mind, I almost said it, but in my mind, it was just fuck yeah, like so happy, but I was really polite. In my brain, my brain said fuck yeah, but I was like, oh, that's a great question. Thank you so much for asking.
It is the purest question.
Well, it's slightly broad, but
it's most generic at the same time most innocent. I'm just want to be.
But no, I mean it's just an example of simple English, And these folks are older, retired age. A lot of them were.
They were like what,
50, 60.
Over 60s.
Yeah, I would say so. They've had English since now it's shogakko. They probably started in junior high school, like chugakko, but they've been studying English their entire lives, and they still are at a level that's very entry level. Yeah. And I think people don't really understand that, especially Americans. I think we think that the rest of the world knows at least some English, And there was
I think it's sort of part of interceptions by the ideology of how Japan kind of considers if you apply more time to it, and it's more valuable. If
you're going to use it too, it's
Yeah.
You know, I've taught advanced student who was a copyright lawyer, and he was telling me like he had to memorize like 30,000 kanji to pass the bar exam in Japan. Like 30,000 fucking kanji. I think there's like 120,000 that exist in the actual like but
exactly.
But 30,000, it's like he's not gonna like spend that much time focusing on English.
Use it.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
chances are half of us.
He actually did use his English, but there are a lot of folks that don't. Yeah, they won't travel. They won't leave Japan. So yeah, like English is not their priority.
It will never be. They were like just like
and they're on an island out in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, so like they're not going to be affected by it. You know, people don't really get that. It's like
complete safe zone.
So so they did this study in Tokyo where they asked Japanese natives how to get from Shinjuku to Tokyo Station, and it's maybe like 5 or 6 blocks. It's really simple, like walk straight, turn left, turn right, it's on your left, right? 3% of the population, 3% in Tokyo, in the largest city in the world, the most populated city in the world.
Yeah, that's the scary part. We're talking about
3%, right. So imagine what it's like in the countryside, you know, like, I mean, this is the thing. Japanese people are so incredibly kind that they said like 50% of them offered to walk the person there.
Okay,
they were like, take my hand, you know, oida, like come with me. But they could not use their English skills to tell someone simply how to walk a few blocks away. So in the countryside, it's the number obviously is lower. You know what I mean? So you're looking at
you're walking piñata. Being an ALT, an American language teacher, is ALT right there. Yeah. Being an ALT, you're a walking piñata like that. Everybody's gonna like, oh, there he goes.
No, I mean you just, you know, you have to learn. Obviously, you have to learn some of it, but like I said before, there's a good chance that you will spend a long time here without actually being able to study. I think a lot of people like the manga and anime nerds that come here and stuff, like they have some base level of Japanese because they're into like the culture, you know, like not just the food or in film or but the problem with it is that Japanese isn't spoken in Japan. Like anime Japanese is totally different than
it's
totally
I still get goosebumps. Like it's like if it's like I think it's like how like West Virginia would kind of like listen to the Yankee accent. It's like damn Yanks, something like that. You know, like it's got this weird for me how the proper like the Tokyo Japanese is spoken. It seems so corny.
It's Kanto Ben and Kansai Ben's different,
It just feels like so artificial.
I mean, it's hard for you though because you're Okinawan, so you speak an Okinawan.
So we got that Okinawan dialect right there going on. Yeah, so I feel like that's got more.
I like Kansai Ben. I feel like it's less stringent. I feel like it's more fun. It's like there's more comedy to it. It sounds better. You know, it's like strange.
It's strange sound. The whole language seems like a part of a comedy show.
When I speak Japanese to students, they always say, "Oh, Mike Sensei Kansai Ben," because I'm like homani, you know. Okini.
Yeah, Okini, they're proud that you have their they're proud that you can speak.
Some of them are from Tokyo, and they're like, "You sound weird." So, I'm like, all of my Japanese sounds weird, dude. Like all of it, you know. It's like fucking. I don't even really speak correctly, so.
But there's like this generic. I don't know what was that. That was like that. I'm off topic again.
No worries.
Yeah, but they're. Wow, I forgot. My mind is taken away from the fact that my beer is almost gone.
You want another one?
Should we go ahead and get another one?
We can do that, sure.
Take a quick break, too. How long are we talking so far?
A long time. 50 minutes.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Okay, let's take a quick break.
Goes by quick. Go ahead, go grab them. They're in the bottom shelf. I'll leave the camera
and a cig, too.
Yeah, do it.
Can you pause it?
Yeah, of course.
This is fun. This is fun, though.
Totally. All right, guys. Cheers. We're back. Fresh beer. Cheers.
Round two.
We're back at it.
Where did we leave off at?
I mean, the subject is teaching in Japan, so we can just kind of continue with that. What was the worst experience that you've ever had teaching in Japan? What was what's an example of a nightmare lesson for you?
Nightmare lesson would be like a kid literally kicking off a girl off of like a steep like just seeing sometimes where like I don't want to get dark all the time, but sometimes there's a dark side to like these kids, and watching that kind of like flare off sometimes is like the hardest part.
I think the worst is when they shut down completely, and then there's just this awkward silence, and you sit there and you ask them like, "How are you today?" And
that
stare at the ground.
That's like constant. So that's like a completely normal.
It is. Well,
you just gotta like figure out how to like break through the.
Yeah, exactly. You have to have a warm up. You have to have like an introduction that's really fun and exciting. Because sometimes they're just fucking tired. Like especially the junior high kids that go to Juku. What is Juku? Can you please tell me?
Juku is cram school. Right. So like a lot of these schools that we have in Japan right now, apparently, do not teach enough in order for kids to enter college. So, or like the entrance exams are getting harder and harder every year, and the school system can't keep up. So that's where the cram school is like the what do you call it? The intermediate type of school. So it's a school after school where kids do concentration studying.
It's a tutoring program.
Basically. It's tutoring, yeah.
Yeah, Chihiro worked at a cram school for a little bit.
But a lot of the times they're actually there's a kids
just babysitting them to study basically, and if they have a question,
they have a worksheet that they have to finish. So there's a scoring system. It's inside the cram school too. So like congratulations, now you double pressured your kid to the whole like. I mean, he's looking at world through numbers. But
it always confuses me because these schools are so expensive.
They
are.
And
the kids go a lot, and it's like, what about a library?
Like, why can't you just go study at the library? Of like self-taught, it really doesn't exist that much here in Japan. They actually, the word dokugaku has a dokugaku, which is like doku is a one, and gaku is like to learn.
Right.
So, but learning on
singular
your own
learning
was not like an encouraged type of. It was like the road of thorns.
Yeah.
Considered to Japanese mentality right there. So
you kind of have to be pushed into studying.
You kind of have to be like, there's no like independent thinking that much.
I think the word is autodidactic in English. Autodidactic means that like you can self-taught, you can teach yourself a skill or learn a new.
I mean, that's like looked at kind of like as like a special.
Yeah, because you do everything as a team in Japan. In Japan, you do everything as a team. But so like
here, it goes to a certain extreme where like really kind of like you teaching yourself and like that. You might be some kind of crazy magician or something.
What are you, a witch?
No, like, but the idea of like learning by yourself doesn't really exist, and that kind of hinders a lot of this, like the sense of curiosity and what do you call it? It depresses that whole sense of like exploration in this society right here. So,
but that's what makes teams so strong. You know, like
it does.
When you work as a salary person, you work in teams. You know, it's not like you're not an individual worker per se.
Yeah, that's
like you're a collective team.
That's the part where I had a
totally different mentality,
because I'm not a team player at all.
I'm not either. I mean, I played American football. I was a team player, but I'm very independent. Yeah.
But thinking about that every single day seems kind of
it's daunting. It's daunting
to me. Yeah. And I want to be a part of something, but I want to be a part of me too at the same time. And the sense of kind of like repressing who you really are is so normal in this society, where like you don't really know who you're talking to until you actually like saw the worst part of that person, right? It's really hard to read people.
Well, I think in Japan, what's the term that you say about reading the air? You know, it's like yeah. So like if your intuition cannot pick up what your boss is saying, right? Even though he doesn't say it directly, he's leaving the words up over your head.
Yeah.
And if you can absorb them and take them in, you have a special ability, and that's how you work up in the field, like in your salary field. So people who have this innate sense of understanding words that are not spoken are usually ones that progress and become higher on the food chain.
Yeah.
So that's a big thing about this culture that I find. I mean, it happens just with Chihiro and I. You know, like she'll expect me to understand something or know something, and then she'll be like, "I'll say like, you didn't say it," and she's like, "Yeah, but you just didn't get it."
How are you supposed to read the?
Yeah, how much you're supposed to just be aware of. But that's also just being really perceptive, you know. I think Japanese people have this incredibly strong way to be perceptive of movement and facial expressions, and it's one of the thing I had with the pandemic that really bothered me was that faces were covered with masks always. Yeah. So, like, one of my defense mechanisms as a foreigner was if I saw someone looking at me and they got a little bit nervous, I would just kind of crack a really, really subtle smile and just seem like a very friendly, open person. And it would diffuse them instantly.
That works.
Instantly, right? No. But then I had to become the eyes. Like, I had to use my eyes to communicate that I'm a safe, nice.
I think that's a universal problem we all had.
Yeah.
Situation right sure. There. It's like, how can you see me?
Yeah. But I miss smiles. I miss teeth, and also teaching. I like to watch people's mouths speak. You know, that's part of like right, because they don't speak well, and sometimes they speak this. Like something. I'm like, fucking speak out! Come on,
what?
Yeah, it's like, can you please enunciate?
Japanese turns you into Little John, right?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. What? The fuck are you saying to him? Speak out, lady. But they speak so softly, and so. But I would read their lips. Literally, I would read their lips, and then the mask came out, and then they became muffled, no visual. I'm just looking at them like, yep, yeah, I hear you. Absolutely, 100%. No fucking clue what they were saying. Yeah. So how did you get there? Did you go by plane? They're like, I went to the coffee shop. Oh, right. Okay. Not Cuba. You didn't go to Cuba. You went to a coffee shop. Did you go to the coffee shop by plane? Yeah, I took a flight from Narita Airport to the coffee shop. It was fucking great.
Those moments,
you just kind of you fake it, you go through it. You're like,
both not aware what each other's talking about, and then this like awkward air is going on.
The strangest silence you could ever experience. You're just like, okay, then let's open our textbooks.
It's like when you're like walking. You know that feeling when you're walking in the street and then somebody comes right in front of you, and then you try to take a step
you
to the
walk right in front of them,
and take a step to the left, and they're synchronizing with you, right?
You're dancing with them,
and it's like that with language. And you're doing this for an indefinite amount of time. It's just, what are we doing here?
I actually now I relish in the awkward silence. For me has become the most comfortable moment in a lesson. I swear
How
to
did you
God.
do that?
I don't know.
Teach me, master.
I flip the script. That's all. I just make it like so. It's a skill that develops over time because you can put your beer up. Sorry. Develops over time because you realize, like in the beginning when I first started teaching, especially at Globe, Okinawa, I was just fucking machine gun firing questions. Like, what'd you do this weekend? Where'd you go? How'd you get there? How many people did you go with? What did you eat? How much did it cost? You know, like it was fucking aggressive.
No, it's the white Hitler.
No, dude, I was so aggressive, and like my mates, like my boy Timmy, my buddy, he was like, dude, just fucking slow down. He's like, give him a chance to reply, you know. So it was just like it was a learning process, you know, for me definitely. Yeah. And now with kids too, especially, like I'll be like, you know, what day is it today? Yeah. And they'll look at me like, eh? And I'll look at the calendar, I'll point to the calendar, and they're still like, eh? And I'll be like, what day is it today? Day. Is it Sunday? No. And then they'll be like, Monday? Oh, no. Kayobi. They'll say it in Japanese. Yeah. Okay, how do you say Kayobi in English? Thursday. Nope, chiga. That's wrong. Sunday. No, you close. Closer. Monday. No, almost. Tuesday. That's right. Very good. Seriously. So now that one question to one kid.
Where's my shotgun?
But that one question to that one kid took 2 minutes of a 40-minute lesson.
I know.
So now that I'm slowing down, it's way better, dude. It's like it's a marathon. It's not a sprint now.
No, not at all.
It's changed everything for me, dude. Honestly, my philosophy in teaching now is so different because of it. And I think it's just more relaxing. The kids feed the energy better. They're not like, you know, and if I get to a minute, I'll be like, Kyo, nanyobi desu ka? And they're like, kayobi. And I'm like, okay, how do you say kayobi in English? Like the school I work at now, even the instructors and the managers, they don't speak English at all. They own and run an English school, but they have zero English skills.
I have this one school. I'll never mention it, but like I get some emails from it sometimes, and I'm not sure that if he's gonna listen to it at all. But yeah, I'm just surprised. Like, how did you come up with this sentence? You know, they're giving like the foreign teachers, all this information, so it's like it's forwarded to everybody that's on the mailing list right there, and I look at it and I'm just like, how did you come up with this sentence? I'm beyond like I'm just like beyond imagination. Like, I have no idea how did you come up with this English after meeting all these English speakers. You kind of can communicate, but how did you? I don't want to start like wasting time by pulling out the email, but
no worries.
But that's the level sometimes.
The first night moving here, so I had vacation here twice, but the first night I arrived, we went out for yakitori, amazing yakitori place in Abiko, and with Cheese Dad, and the waiter, so he's a regular, he's a celebrity all over Abiko. Like, this guy is just, everyone loves him, everyone knows him. He goes to this place all the time, and the waiter June, who's my son June, named after, really ganky, super friendly kid. It was an English major at Osaka University in his second year, and I was so psyched. You know, I was like, "Holy shit! My first night here, I'm gonna make an English-speaking friend. Great." My wife calls him over, June, wait, and send us on. Says like, you know, "Eigo shaberi," like he's like, "Hi, I speak English," and I was like, "Great, June, where do you go to university?" Dead stare, like fucking dead stare. His eyes start shaking, like darting left and right a little bit. I'm like, June, what university you go to? I was like, English major, right? And still just fucking dead stare, like just staring right at me.
I can see.
It's the most uncomfortable moment.
What was that Disney movie about the emotions like that, where you can see the person's brains inside there? Yeah. I can see his version going on right now. Everybody's just like, right on the, English, emotions are all just like rushing on.
It was April. It was a pretty cool night, but I could just see like a trickle of sweat, bead of sweat run down his head, and I was just like, my wife finally interjected and was just like, go away, like don't worry about it. You know?
Imagine, because he basically kind of prepared his whole life.
But he passed every exam from junior high school. You have to take an exam to get into high school. Some of the schools are specialty schools that focus on English. He passed all of those grades. He entered a major university, passed all of the English tests on paper to get to that university. Studied for 2 years at that university, but couldn't answer the most basic English question. Yeah, I mean, this is what I'm talking about. There's a huge flaw in the education system here. It's really scary. I mean,
but like I found, like, I don't know if you know this YouTuber, like, but his name Harris, not Sam Harris.
I really watch other YouTubers, to be honest with you.
You should.
I should,
his
right?
Stuff is so
I should probably
informative.
No, I mean, I watch a lot of shit about people talking about Japan, obviously, but
but he has one too. But he had this video that was so inspiring for me about like learning language, and then he talks about his experience of how he actually, like, when you scholastically or academically, I don't know which term it is, like is more accurate, but like when you learn a language through an education system, there is a sense of like formality and structure and all that. There's levels to it, right? There's
pass this exam, pass that exam. Like Japanese, JLP,
so you can
like
see your advancement
JLPT 5 to 1, right?
But in contextual-wise, like in actually the real aspect of like being able to use that language,
right.
It's like a totally different thing. That's this oral argument inside the video.
But I think for them, for the Japanese people, they also don't have a chance to practice outside of their education system. They literally could, but they don't.
But also, you go.
I mean, I'm immersed in Japan. I could speak Japanese outside, but I don't. You know what I mean?
No, we have to go back to the whole psyche of the Japanese people, where it's like you don't want to make a mistake.
True. Yeah,
like the honor is like still, it's like so eye-opening, and then so like.
Well,
so
to be shamed
ridiculous.
in Japan, it is the worst thing. To be shamed, like I remember. So Miho was born in Cambridge, Massachusetts, at Mount Auburn Hospital, which is affiliated with Harvard University. So just some of the best, coolest people and doctors ever, dude. I mean, you know, she had a diabetes specialist for her gestational diabetes. Was a sweetheart. This woman was so nice, and We had a midwife who was incredibly kind, but they told us that we were having our first child was a girl, probably close to like that 6th to 7th month, I think. In Japan, when she was pregnant with June, the doctor was reluctant. I think it was close to like the 8th month. He was basically like a month from him being born, and he was like, it might be a boy.
Yeah.
It's like it might be a boy. He's fucking 8 months in the womb, grown. You can definitely see his penis
or not, man. Exactly. Come on.
But back to what you're saying, he didn't want to be wrong, and that's shameful,
Yeah.
So like,
so to avoid that whole controversy,
you just say maybe or yeah. But he was right. He's a boy, so you might as well just like go with your gut.
A lot of the doctors that I met, like doesn't mean like I have a lot of kids, but the people that I talk to, they say like what do they say? What do they say? People that say like that. Yeah, like a lot of doctors they're like they're okay with it, but they say like we have to. He gives air quotes. I don't know what the Japanese would call it of air quotes is, but I kind of like sense it. So he's like, a little hint on the say he might be a boy. I know, but I'm just like trying to avoid legal terms right there.
The way you worded it was
but
might
the
be.
whole idea of like having to defend yourself from something that you don't even know it might happen in here is very prevalent. And so therefore like trying to avoid mistakes as much as possible, but that hinders so much of the possibility in Japan,
right? Because it says it's not okay to be wrong, and therefore you don't take risks.
And so that's why I always open my class and like that every time like that. It's like, okay, so do you know this word right there? You know that word. You didn't know this word, now you know it. And this word you didn't know before, like if you learn it, now you know it. Now let's go, which one? Okay, did you make many mistakes like that at all? Like it's like we didn't know that word. So good, we're learning from our mistakes. We're progressing. So don't be afraid to make mistakes. I tell all my students that you are here to make mistakes, not to be excellent. You're here to show me your most stupidest face and like that, and I'm going to be zip quiet about that right there. Don't worry. I'm not going to tell everybody how horrible you are with English, but this is where you're here for, to make mistakes, and that makes them very safe.
Yeah, I would say the number one problem.
You can see like the shoulders are just like.
Well, the number one problem. The number one problem with Japanese studying English is confidence. They think that their English is shit, so I always try to genuinely pump them up at the beginning of lessons. Always. So you start off simple, and they get things correct, and then it's like a Lego block. You're like you're building this thing out of Legos, each block at a time. Every time you get a new word for them, you practice it, you make sure they understand it, you move on. And every time they get it correct, you build their confidence. If they make a mistake, you don't harp on it. Like, oh man, you didn't remember that word. You just kind of like, okay, hopefully the next time you can learn this. Like, we do a thing on Halloween, it's a skit. And the kids have to like role play a thing where they wake up and eat breakfast. There's a mother, there's a girl who talks, and they have to memorize Anki Suru.
Okay.
And then so that was the hardest thing for them. They could have read like literally the whole skit every time is perfectly read, but to memorize it and retain it and repeat it is something that they were like so averse to. They had such a difficult time, and they got really nervous, and the director of the school, she recorded the video for their parents, and just before the skit started at the Halloween party, the teacher or the instructor, not me, sorry, the director told the kids, okay, this is for your mother. And collectively they shit their pants. Yeah. I was like, why did you fucking say that? Like, first of all, you should just not even just secretly record them, because they nailed it before that. We practiced it. They nailed it. Like, hey, what time is it? Get up. Good. What are we having for breakfast? Hot dog and salad. Great. Like, they nailed the conversation. It was beautiful. And the minute she said that and hit the record button, they froze. And I was like, guys, let's start the skit. Let's do it. And they just froze, and they're staring at the camera that the director said. And I'm like, yo, get the fucking camera. It's not gonna work out. Okay.
Everybody turned into a ventriloquist right here.
So there's a huge confidence issue too, and then if they know they have to repeat it, it's like that thing if you step up on stage, right? Like you can give a speech. I could talk to you for days, right?
Yeah.
But if I had to get up on a stage and talk to 500 people about a presentation,
I get that, right?
Yeah, that is a really stressful thing for a lot of people. They feel like they're being attacked by eyes, you know. It's a really stressful thing, and kids feel the same. Kids are way more intuitive than adults. You know, they see and feel things.
Well, they also have their own group too, group stats where they are at in that position.
Sure.
So they have to make sure that they don't make an ass out of themselves in the classroom.
For sure.
So yeah, I feel their pressure just a little bit.
All right, guys, we're rolling at about an hour now, so it's going to be a lot of stuff that you hear to edit. So we're going to wrap this shit up. But as far as teaching goes, we'll be back, Travis. As far as teaching goes, keep a positive attitude. You're definitely going to have shitty jobs. Like, there's no fucking doubt about it. There's no way to avoid it. See yourself through it. You have a 1-year contract. Get to the end. Find a better job. You know, just keep pushing on. Just do search on Gaijin Pot. There's a lot of jobs. Avoid the big companies like Nova, Berlitz, and they notoriously fuck over teachers. They do. Avoid ALT jobs. What they do is
find the small places.
Exactly.
Single owners.
Or open your own school. But yeah, ALT
it will help you build a community.
ALT dispatchers will find you a job easily. They will pay for your transportation to get there, but they will take fucking 25% of your salary off the top. Then you get taxed on that, so your earnings will be dog shit after it. So don't avoid ALT jobs. They suck. They're not worth it. If you like to teach kids, teach kids. If you don't, working in an adult Ikawa conversation school, you'll be much happier.
Yeah, there's a wide range.
But if you love kids, then definitely teach kids. I prefer to teach all ages. It just broadens my experiences here. But don't put yourself in a small box. You know, like definitely keep an open mind. And we're under the kotatsu right now. This table is called a kotatsu, and
not under the table.
We're in the studio under the kotatsu. Travis and I aren't tickling toes or anything, but in the winter we'll put
that kind of podcast now.
There's a skirt that goes around this table, and there's a heater under it. So it keeps you all toasty warm in the winter. So yeah, kotatsus are awesome. They should exist in America. Unfortunately, they don't. But okay, rambling. Right. Thank you guys. Thanks for listening. Please subscribe if you want to hear more of our bullshit. Travis, thank you so much.
No, thank you.
Cheers.
Wait. Cheers.
Love you, man.
I love you too.
All right, guys. Peace out. Cheers.
Thanks.